excited about my guest today. You folks get to meet the incredible Niki Lopez. She's an Afro-Latina lesbian artist, curator, and social entrepreneur. She's the founder of What's Your Elephant, a nonprofit that uses art to address taboo topics. Niki has been honored with so many awards that if I started naming them all right now, we'd take up the whole hour of the show. But I'm going to mention some because these accolades are important, right? The Louis E. Peters Memorial Service Award and the Broward County Arts and Culture Visionaries Award. She also got a philanthropy award from the R Fund a couple of months back. She is a pioneer in her field and believes in challenging social norms by being the change she wants to see in the world. This interview is everything to me because I've been trying to get Niki in bed forever. Forever. And to all those people out there that are dating Niki right now, I have her in bed. Niki, welcome to the FayWhat show, Mama. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I know you're a busy girl. You're busy.
Yes.
It's a blessing, though, right?
Absolutely.
I love your vibe. I love your style. You know, like you exude energies that draw folks to you. You know that, though.
Yes, I've been, yes.
Yeah.
Sort of, kind of.
Sort of, kind of.
You know, because I didn't know sometimes, but yeah, I think it's part of my evolution of just really owning the spaces that I'm in. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there were times when I didn't realize that, you know, so I just, you know, I was in the corner, in the background.
Growing up, were you like that? You're so talented artistically. Like you do a lot of different things. Like, were you like that growing up?
I've always been creative since I was a baby, right? And my grandmother, rest in peace, you know, she had some artwork of mine that she gave me several years ago. So it had like, I used to draw what they call the coconut head people. It had these round faces and the big dresses and big red lips, right? And the back of it says 25 cents, but for today only is 10 cents.
Look at you. Always trying to do a deal, right? Niki trying to be a hustler at 10. I drew this. It took me an hour, all right? Yes. If you buy it in the next 10 seconds, it's half price.
Exactly. So I guess I always had that entrepreneur spirit. I always want to be an artist. Like, I remember as a child, I had a long list of things and I would actually, you know, I'm grateful because sometimes when I think about, you know, being, you know, little Niki writing this list of all these things, there's so many of those things that I've done. Now, I haven't done tap dancing, but you know, that's on the list. Yeah. But I actually do, during the pandemic, I bought me some tap shoes because I was like, you know, that would be something to get into just as a hobby. Because, you know, I'm like, can I just have a hobby without making it a mission?
Right? Well, okay, but that's a good question. Can you? Because you're very driven. Like you get in it. Like, I'm intentional about your shit. You know,
yes,
like if you're gonna be a tap dancer, you're gonna be the best freaking tap dancing queer ever.
Yes, absolutely. And taking up space. Like, you know, I'm adult learn to swim, right? But then I'm a part of diversity in aquatics, right? So it's just like I want to do these things, but at the same time, when I go into spaces and I see the disparity or I see the need or I connect to that, I feel like, what can I do to change that? What can I do? Because I feel like, you know, everyone has something that they can do, big or small.
Yes.
And for me, I like to, you know, really be the change I want to see in the world. I don't want to just inspire people. I want to motivate people. Like, okay, if she could do it, I could do these things, right? Or I like to highlight and talk to people that are doing different things, right? You know, and so it's important to me because I feel like if everyone had that, I'm very intentional. I'm big on integrity, intentionality, purpose, like
action.
Action, taking action, not just sitting around
talking about it, right? Like I said, don't talk about it, be about it kind of thing, right?
And I feel like imagine if everyone in this world I feel obligated to do one action. You know, one action of positive good, one action that benefits other than me, or how can I use my, you know, what I've gone through, or how can I use my space, my platform, my time, my talent, my skills to help in some way. Yeah. We'd be so much further along in life.
We would be so much further along in life, even in LGBTQ. We would be so further away. You know, I'm constantly screaming for Black and brown LGBTQ plus rights as a Latina, you know, and I consider you an advocate too. You do so much. Yeah. But in that, you're also an advocate. You're always representing so much, you know. How important is it for you to see us be us as two black and brown lesbians in bed talking, about your life and how you got to here?
I think it's extremely important, right? Because even within our LGBT community, I'm also pushing boundaries there, right? Because we tell heterosexual people, respect us for who I am. I say I'm this, you have to honor it.
Yes.
But then we get it within our own communities and we want to box people. Oh, you're a lesbian, you have to be this type of lesbian. This is what it means to be non-binary. This is what it means to be trans. And so, for me, I feel like we should also take a little bit of our own medicine and allow people to be who they are. Like for me, there's a lot of times when I say Afro-Latina, it's important to me.
Yes.
First of all, there were times, especially because I'm a brown-skinned Afro-Latina, right? And because of other circumstances, my mom's side speaks Spanish. I have Panama, Cuba, Jamaica, Cubans on both sides. So
that should be interesting.
Yeah. Right?
You got some loud ass people in your family.
Right? Oh my
up.
gosh, right? And so for me, there were times, especially because I didn't grow up speaking the language. And back in like the 80s and stuff, like it wasn't, telenovelas, they only have the more Hispanic looking Latin people.
Yes.
So instead of, instead of being challenged about where'd you get the Lopez from, which ironically, the Lopez is from my Jamaican dad, but his parents were Cubans that went to Jamaica and stayed. So, so there were times I had to learn to embrace my culture and stand fully in, like, I am Latin, and especially like in South Florida, right? I am so tired of other Latin people. They're the first ones to be like, oh, so where'd you get the Lopez from? Who married? And so I have to say, we come in these shades. Stop playing.
Yes, we do.
Now, your country might have tried to annihilate the shades that we are.
That part.
But, so to me, there's everything about me has always been intentional, purpose, advocating, being proud to say Afro-Latina, being proud to say lesbian or queer or saying she, her, they, or just taking up those spaces. And it's not like, oh, it just comes naturally to me, right? It's been a part of my journey, my evolution. But to me, it's important because to me, if I take up space and get comfortable in who I am, it allows other people to do the same.
It's true. It's true. I mean, you have no idea who's watching you wherever you go, and you're so out there, that like that one little black or brown queer girl is like, I could leave my hair how it is. I can be who I want to be. I could put on makeup or not put on makeup, and I'm still who I am.
Yeah. Even within the black communities, right? You have colorism, right? Or the hair texture, pelo malo.
Pelo malo.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even I have family members, why, if you're Panamanian, why is your hair thick? And I'm like, I have different types of hair, but then I'm like, I don't have to prove.
Why do I have to explain myself to you? You want my DNA? Here's my heritage, bitch. Like, come on.
Exactly. So it's just like, so to me, all of those things is a part of my journey of embracing all of those things. There were times in my youth where I wouldn't say, even down to my nickname's Niki. I use Niki, right? But I was born Nicole. So don't ask me why a Jamaican man and a Panamanian woman chose a French way to spell my name. So it's Nicole with an H. And I was just like, can't I just fucking fit in somewhere, right?
Nope, they wanted to make you as different as possible.
Exactly. So
but it's beautiful.
I know, but it's just like there was a time when I was little, I would leave the H out, right? So part of when I embrace who I am and I'm growing, I'm always evolving, is embracing all those things.
Every part of you.
Every part of me, right? Because I can't leave any of that out. The good, the bad, the ugly. But yeah, when I think back at like, dag, I knew I had an H in my name, but because instead of being teased about it or explaining it, I just left the H out. And so it's important to me, if I'm spelling my name, to put the H. It's important to me to say, yep, Afro-Latina, lesbian, black, a black person say, do you consider yourself black? I'm like, how do you say Afro-Latina?
And not consider yourself black.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And how do you like navigate that, Nick? Because you want to be a good advocate, right?
Yes.
And you also we're here to teach.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're constantly evolving, and at least for me, I want to constantly learn. I never want to get to the point where I'm like, I know it all, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's when you stop living. That's when you stop growing, Absolutely. So people are going to ask dumb shit.
Yes.
right? And they're going to catch you on that one day for me that I didn't have enough coffee or my wife pissed me off, right? And they're just going to ask on the wrong day. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I'm very proud that, you know, I have a nice percentage of me that's Nigerian. Obviously, you can't tell by looking at me.
That part, yeah.
You know, and so you never know what someone is made up of, and they should be proud of every percentage of what they're that makes them up.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. And I think there's some things that I say, and there's some things that I am, right? So, like, there's certain things that I'll advocate vocally, and just there's certain things it's just like, you know, in the spaces that I occupy, and the things that I do, and the way that I wear my clothes or dress or whatever have you. And so it is important to embrace all those things, and we can't judge a book by its cover because you never know. I mean, it used to hurt me. And then it's like a joke, right? I was a part of this LGBT organization years ago. I'm on the board. You know, I was the board, the photographer, the graphic designer,
whatever they needed, you were doing.
I was doing it, right? And so now, yes, granted, I did have a child, naturally, whatever have you, right? But you know, we were having a board meeting, and the one person said, "Oh, Niki's such an ally," and I was just like. But this is the problem within our community, right? Because how are you LGBT advocates? And that's more a reflection on her, not me, right?
Yeah.
Because you didn't ask. So you just assumed. And now, granted, at the time, I did have a boyfriend and a child. But I've been a part of LGBT stuff. I mean, even back 20 years ago when I used to live in Atlanta, right? Going to Pride and all those things. But it's just like, we don't ask people. We don't allow people to define who they are really.
Yeah.
Right? If they don't fit in a little nice box, if they don't, you know, even within, you know, you have black, you know, lesbian, right? It's all this war against masculine, feminine. Yeah. You know, I'm in some groups and I get kicked out sometimes.
Get out, Niki.
Yes,
pass. Get
because
out.
they were like, "Oh, look at this stud for stud," and I'm like, "Isn't the point that it's two women? That at that point, whatever those two women want to do, however they want to present, however they want to, you know, it's if we're together, then we figure out, okay, what do you want to do? The garbage, the dishes, the this, or that,
exactly,
whatever.
exactly.
We have to figure it out. It's not about, oh, I wear a bow tie, so that means I have to do this.
You have to be the masculine. You have to go take out the trash just because you wear a bow tie.
And that's not really doing the work. That's not. That's that's disregarding one social norm for another social norm and heteronormative, right?
While you're trying to advocate, right? While you're trying to advocate for this same community.
While you're advocating, you go, you turn into you go home, and then you want to perpetuate the same heteronormative standards, and then some of that. I mean, not to go so deep, right? And it's interesting. There was this one lady. She gave a panel on it, and she traced back, you know, how Black people within the LGBT have this whole, you know, heteronormative, like it's like got them in a chokehold, right? And she traced it back to slavery, right? And not being seen and wanting to fly under the radar. But it's just like, it's interesting. Yeah, passing, right? Yeah. So to me, I felt like I picked that up. And so sometimes I'm in these groups and they say some ignorant thing and I feel like, I don't know why I feel like, let me give you some, here we go. Let me give you some links.
like when I was about to get into a fight in high school. Let me take off my earrings. Let me put on some Vaseline.
You know, nobody
Let's go.
cares.
Yeah.
But I feel like, no, this is ignorant.
But
Let
you
me
have
tell
to. You have to tell them, okay?
If not me, then who?
You have to, because somebody else won't come up. Listen, there's more unlearning than there is learning to do for some people.
Absolutely.
And people can't even wrap their head around the fact that they need to unlearn some shit.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I have been told to my face that I'm not a real lesbian because I'm always dressed up. What kind, like, in what world? What? Like, how? Like, I'm out there fighting for all of us and fighting for you. And it's like, you know, like, come on, like Maya Angelou said, like, if you're out there fighting for one woman, you're out there fighting for all women. And how is it that you're not going to ask?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that you mentioned you're a mom, okay? Because I didn't want to blow up that spot either. And I think that you must be the best mom, like, in life, right? So you're a mom. How do you navigate what's going on in Florida right now when you have someone that you have brought into the world having to deal with what this governor is putting us under?
It's hard, you know, but I think first of all, if you're a person of color, right? If you're a Black mom, you already got to navigate stuff racially anyway, right?
Yes.
I remember one year, just to take back a little, several years ago, my son was he's 15 now. taller than me, even in heels, and proud of it. And I feel like, how's Marley? I'm like, he's still taller than me. He won't shrink.
Oh, I love that. Keep on growing. And he wears higher and higher heels to be bigger.
Yeah, right. So he was I think he was in kindergarten or first grade. And for the first time, now, mind you, his father is multiracial, right? Cameroon, he's Paris, his mom's white, the father's black, And my son, like, if you ask him when he was little what color someone, he'll be like, oh, beige, pink, whatever. There was this one girl, she was really butchy. He called her a boy, and she was fine with it, right? Mm-hmm. And so kids are innocent that way, and they just take things as face value. Like, we teach them to hate. Yeah. But he went to school during Black History Month, and he came back to me crying because he said he didn't want to be a slave. And I was like, what? He's around so many different, I was livid, right? Because I said, you're not a slave. And he said, yes, I am. And I said, no, you're not, Marley. You're not a slave, right? Wow. So I had to roll up my mom's sleeves and go to the school and talk to the teacher. Now, his regular teacher happened to be absent. So it wasn't a teacher that I had a rapport with. They had a substitute. And she said, we didn't say that. I said, whatever you told my 5-year-old, he came home and said, I don't want to be a slave. And so my problem is with Black history in the schools, they only want to talk about, slavery and above, right? Yeah, they don't want to talk about the greatness.
The good stuff that came out of slavery.
Yes. So to me, if you're Black already, you already deal with that, right? And when he would go to school when he was younger, and I would say, hey, is anybody bullying you? No. Are you being, are you bullying anybody? No. Do you see someone bullying someone? And I have to tell him. So to me, as a Black person, you already, people that's aware, you already have to go in and add to whatever education that the child is getting, right? So I have to, I would tell him, like, there was times, I think, unfortunately, he never got teased in school. He got teased from another family member, about me being gay.
Okay.
Right? And he was really upset. And I was upset because, and the mom was like, oh, kids will be kids. And I said, no, that's unacceptable. Yeah. That's his family. That's because you're saying that it's okay. So it's frustrating, to know that, and things are getting so misconstrued. Like, there was a family member was talking. They're like, oh, the gay agenda. What gay agenda? I said, I've been in GSA, meetings for years. There used to be a group of us with Dee Palazzo back in the day. And we would meet at schools, and it was like a monthly thing where everybody said what they did, what they got going on, what they needed, right? And so because of the organization I was with and just the group of people, we used to attend these things. And I'm like, no one is going in and saying, okay, straight kids, you got to be gay, right?
No one.
What they're saying is, okay, kids, not everybody has a mom and dad. Yes. Some people have 2 moms. Some people have 2 dads. Some people may have 3 moms. We're not,
Yeah.
So like, and to me, especially as a Black person now, I know it's very tricky, right? Because you can't compare, LGBT to being Black, right? Because someone could be gay and you don't see that. When you're Black, you see that, it. Mm-hmm. Right? You can't hide it. But the thing is, the same way at some point, in schools, they didn't want to see a Black kid and a white kid together, right? Mm-hmm. And so at some point that was abnormal and it had to be normalized. Yeah. So to me, it's just like, you have to fight against it. If he comes home, I talk to my son, we talk about a lot of things, right? Because I went through a lot of things, and I didn't have someone to tell me that I have ownership of my body and my voice and this is that. I give him a lot of autonomy, and he knows, like, he's really funny. There's some people who could come and they could hug him up and he's fine. And other people, he was just like, and I let him do it, right?
Yeah.
Because as long as he's
not being rude about it. Yeah, of course.
Right. But sometimes there's a reason, because kids pick up on stuff. So to me, it's just like, to constantly be in contact and communication with him and to let him know, it's okay. Like, to be honest, right? Because he's getting to that teenage year. So like, I always have to go back in and check, right? Because I want him to become the Our Fun Award, the philanthropy award. And I was like, I want my son to be there, right? Because first, there's a lot of things that I do. I mean, it's funny sometimes when people say, oh, I didn't know you do this stuff. I didn't know you'd be here. And I was like, that's because you didn't take time to know me. That's fine. Because I've been doing a lot of stuff. It's just, there was a time I was behind the scenes with a lot of things. And so I realized people are fine with you behind the scenes and they could take your credit or whatever. So Hey, it's a part of the journey. You know what I mean?
It's part of the experience. Yeah.
It's part of the experience, right? So now that I've been stepping out more and taking ownership of the things that I'm doing, the ideas that I have, and just whatever, it's a little different. But the thing is, we had to have a conversation because I wanted him to go to the philanthropy award because I said he's never seen me accept an award, and he sees me every day, right? He sees me the independent mom, the artist. Sometimes there's good days, sometimes there's oodles and noodles days, right? Yeah. He sees those things, so I felt it was important for him to see me get a philanthropy award and recognize, right? So then he's like, he was like, okay, I'll go, and then he was like, I don't want to go. And then I was just like, there's something else, right? And he said something to me. I said, do you think people think you're gay if you go there? There's going to be all types of people, right? And I was like, it's, yes, it's a gay organization, right? But there's all types of people. But we had to have that conversation, right? Because now that he's getting older, he's more subconscious about things. And so to me, as a parent, you have to, but just as a human, right? With a conscience and whatever, you have to always be educating the youth around you, but especially if you have a child, you have to be educating them. And it's just like, look, these are some ignorant things, right? You have to go to school because we're in this country and truancy will come to my door and knock on my door if you're not in school. Yeah. So unfortunately, you have to go to school. Well, fortunately, because I work from home, because I'm like, I need silence. So
you ain't homeschooling him for nothing. You're like, go to school, kid. You need to go to school now.
Marley, if you're hearing this, there's no such thing as homeschool.
There is no such thing as homeschool. I got to talk about what's your elephant, okay? And we're running out of time, and I really need to talk about that. So I love the artistic masks that you made, and it's all. And I saw that on your website was that was part of what's your elephant, okay? So something that I saw on your site that was written, it said, quote, "We believe in the power of the arts as a safe space to address all that is unspoken, paving the way for healing, connection, and social change." Right? Topics that many won't touch. Do you come up with topics? Do the topics come up organically? Does life just happen? And then it ends up on these incredible mass global warming, losing reproductive rights, LGBTQ plus crap, drag banning, don't say gay. I can go on and on with the massive amount of crap that we've got on us.
So the thing is to create, to talk about anything unspoken. So it depends on what it is, right? So what's your elephant? There's a couple of major components. We have the art exhibitions, where we do a call for art, and it has to be an elephant in the room topic. Then we do the art making workshops where people are creating an art piece and we have conversations. It's big on, destigmatizing conversations about mental health, right? And it's also addressing different challenges. It could be about abuse, social norms, LGBT issues. So sometimes when I'm doing an exhibition or a workshop, it could be any elephant in the room.
Okay.
Sometimes it's focused. Like a couple years ago, I did a series of What's Your Elephant art making workshop and conversation, and I had mental health counselors with me. We talked about it. So it was in an underserved community, right? And so I specifically made a series specifically about traumas because, when we talk about low income, high crime rate, all the things, we don't go back and say, why is it that, right?
Yeah. And what happened before?
Yeah,
why are we here?
Right? Yes. So it's just the unprocessed traumas, right? And so that
and
was
handed
specific.
down traumas.
And so sometimes I've done an LGBT series where it's more focused because I feel like it's good to give a wide net, and sometimes we have to hone in and come, and
focus
talk about
on
something.
one.
Yeah. So like one of the projects I was in with a couple other artists was Artists for Black Lives Matter, right? And talking about, art that dealt with, any life that was lost unjustly due to a racial thing, right? So the thing is that, and creating safe spaces. So like if I'm doing a workshop or a talk and I'm telling people what is a safe space, something could come up. I'm not going to tease you about it here. It's not up to, to me to judge you, tell you what you're doing, and it stays here, right? And then sometimes it's also, I have to give resources because when you tell people, and that's the other thing too, right? Because I started sharing some of the things that I've gone through in my art, and that eventually led me to doing What's Your Elephant, right? So I went through a lot of traumas, growing up and just different things. So realizing people need more spaces to share, realizing people need to be heard, to be seen. You know, sometimes I can't fix your problem, right?
Yeah.
But if I was to sit here and you tell me something and I'm like, it's okay, I'm here for you, I'm without judgment, right? Sometimes that's all you need to not say it changes the past, but at least you feel more humanized and normalized. And then you're like, you know what, maybe I do need therapy.
Right? That might be all
right?
you need to get to the next call to action,
Absolutely.
right? To do the next thing, right?
Now, I would say that unfortunately, in my experience, that I've been doing What's Your Elephant since 2014. And I've done it with Sun Serve Youth. I've done it with my kid when he was in 3rd grade and 4th grade, old people, all types of ages, all type of demographic. And unfortunately, what I would say is that anytime I've done a workshop where it's any elephant in the room, there's at least 1 or 2 topics of sexual abuse. So that comes up often. You know, it never, like, one year there was this lady, 72-year-old lady, and I still get goosebumps because she didn't know me. She said her friend saw the workshop posted. She said, oh, you should go to it. She made her work, and she shared about she got molested from both mother and father.
Oh my God.
And the first time she said it at 72 was just then. Right? And so, and it's just like, you know,
wow.
You know, exactly. And then people come to me.
But that's a lot for you to unpack. That's why you have
absolutely.
the correct resources to send that person
Absolutely.
to where they need to go next.
Absolutely.
But what a wonderful thing that I got chills, that was
Yes.
the safe space that they found to be able to let that go. Something that they had been carrying around for so long.
Yeah.
For decades, because the person was in their 60s or 70s.
She was, 72. And so the thing is, we all need spaces. We need inclusive spaces. We need exclusive spaces as Black people, as LGBT people, as Latin people, as women. We need both exclusive, because sometimes what we may want to talk about and really share as Latin women or as women, we need to just be around others like that who's going to understand and not question,
not judge.
Not judge, or even Black spaces, right?
Yeah.
You know, people talk about white fragility and all these things like that, right? So Black people need also, but we also have to have inclusive spaces, because that's how we learn how to be in community, right? And community is that I could sit with whoever's on that table and respect them for their differences, honor them for who they are, what they bring to the table. It's fine. They don't have to be like me. It's fine. They didn't agree with everything that I said, but I could say, you know, I respect you as Faye. Yeah. Right.
I might have learned something from you. You might have learned something from me.
Absolutely. And so it's important, especially because sometimes with, you know, LGBT stuff, like, we stay in this bubble. Right. So that's the other thing, too. Right. When I'm doing my art shows, whether it's What's Your Elephant or whatever, this one lady, she came up to me. I didn't know her. Someone else invited her. She said, you're not just curating the art, you're curating people.
Oh, I love that.
I was just like, yeah, because, you know, my collaborations have always been kind of, it's into a lot of things I do. I don't think I do anything, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, right? But I always try to be very intentional and layered and think about these things, right? So we have people to say, oh yeah, we're open, right? But we only stay with our little clique. Yeah. Or we only stay with the LGBT. We only stay with Black people. We only stay with Hispanic people, whatever. So when I'm doing things, I'm intentionally trying to bring in people that's going to bring in other demographics of people. And then they're in this space and it's like, wow, there's this vibe. Right. I love it.
And it's not as scary as I thought. And it's not as different as I thought. And look, I'm being supported and welcomed in. What the hell was I even worried about? You know, and it takes someone like you to do that, Niki, because you've got that voice, you've got that presence. Yeah. Nick, what would you tell Nicole? Using a government name with an H, bitch. Nicole, what would you tell a queer Black or brown kid out there who's artistic? Right? Might be a little weird because, you know, we're always a little weird, right? When we're that age, you know, don't know exactly what box they fit in, right? You know, what do you, and are for sure artistic, drawing stuff, making things out of nothing, you know? What do you tell that queer kid about their future possibilities?
I feel I would want to tell that queer kid to do whatever it takes to be more and more comfortable being fully who you are. Don't listen to any people, could sometimes have the good intentions, but it's the wrong thing for you, right? Yeah. So whether you're queer, you're an artist, you're doing something like, sometimes it's a challenge. It's not easy. There's definitely struggles that I go through and I face.
Of course.
But at the same time, I sleep well at night knowing that I'm living in my purpose
Yep.
and going where I feel that, like creating my own path. So I think it's important to say that you're not alone. You're perfect in who you are, even if you don't feel perfect. What is something positive that you could say to yourself? Or sometimes what's easier is, what is something positive that you could say to someone else in your shoes, right? Because sometimes we're our worst critic. I'm my worst critic.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I got to give myself a hug. But when I know that what can I say to someone else in that, then I realize, okay, I'm really telling myself that as well. So the thing is to really at some point, you either are going to find community or realize you're the birth of whatever that community is, right? So it's like for me, I struggled with fitting in because whether I'm on with my Jamaican side of the family, and that's when they want to call me the Panamanian. When I'm with the Panamanian, oh, she's the Jamaican. When I'm with the straight people, or if I'm with the gay people and they're like, is she straight? And I used to just want to fit in so badly. And so part of my personal journey has been, I wasn't born to fit in. There's nothing about me that could ever fit in. So
and
why
okay.
fucking try? And that's okay. And that's part of my power, right? Because when I'm struggling to fit in, that's me not being who I am. And when I'm being who I am, I was at some event one time and this person, now I've seen them, I don't know them. Right. And he came up to me at the Pride Center and he was just like, thank you for being real. And I was like, I don't know who he is.
Okay, but you don't have to.
Yeah, but so you never know who you're going to touch.
And who's watching.
So sometimes when we're struggling so much to fit in, to be liked, for like, how come they're forgetting about me? Sometimes it's intentional, but we're not going to go into that.
That's a whole other conversation.
I had to do the Prince eye, right? But the thing is, like, that's okay because when I'm more myself, then people are like, oh my God, I didn't know you did this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you did, wow, this is amazing stuff. So I feel like telling that kid, to hold on, to write, to draw, to try to be as positive. And sometimes if you're feeling negative, that's okay too, right?
Okay too.
Because to try to make it like we're, not going through depression if we are.
Yeah.
That's
not all
helpful.
sunshine and rainbows.
It's not all sunshine. Sometimes I got to sit there, right? Like I'm in a moment. And I'm just going to sit there because we want to escape our feelings.
Yeah.
We want to escape how we feel. And sometimes when we give that feeling space, then it moves on.
And sometimes it takes care of itself.
Absolutely.
So queer kids, stop trying to put yourself in a box. Be who you are authentically.
Absolutely.
Okay? And keep drawing and journaling, right? All
Absolutely.
right. Thank you, Niki Lopez, for being on the FayWhat show. Honey, you are tremendous.
Thanks for having
Will you
me.
promise me to come back on the show?
Yes.
There's so much
I will.
more stuff I want to talk about with you. We've got so much stuff that we can unfold. Oh, my God. Make sure that you follow Niki on all social media outlets, okay? She's on Facebook at Niki Art Studio. She's on IG at Niki Lopez. And also, What's Your Elephant is online as well. Make sure you follow them and support, okay? Figure out what's your elephant and go on to the next event. She just had a magic and tarot card and relationship event a couple months ago. So for you single people, you never know what Niki's doing. All right, so follow her on all social media outlets. Niki, thank you so much for being on my show. I adore you.
Thank you.
Un besito. Mwah. We'll be right back.